Good day, everyone. Today, me and my group will discuss to you the self from the perspective from the various philosopher. Uh, for the viewers' information, this is just for educational purpose only, and our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Ronald Ardines, to use this for educational purposes. Without further ado, let's start. The self from the perspective from the various philosopher. So, at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to explain the role of philosophy in understanding the concept of self, discuss the different concepts of the self from the philosophical perspective, differentiate differentiate the various concepts of the self and identify their similarities, develop develop your own philosophy of the self, then lastly, determine the different philosophical perspective from different periods. So the first period is uh, what we call Greek ancient triumvirate. This includes Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. From the word itself, ancient, meaning these philosophers lived long time ago. Uh, let's first talk about Socrates. So Socrates' main point of view in his philosophy is an examined life is not worth of living for Socrates. The self is synonymous with the soul. So meaning our self and our soul is related to each other. Every human possesses an immortal soul that survives the physical body. So meaning every human being, every our physical body, we ourselves lives because there is an immortal soul that lies within us. He was the first to focus the full power of reason on the human self, who we are, who we should be, and who we will become. So, meaning he was the first to study, he was the first philosopher to study the human self or ourself. Socrates suggests that reality consists of two dichotomous realms. So, the first realm is the physical realm. This is the changeable, transient, and imperfect. It includes the body and the physical world in which man lives. The next one is the ideal realm. These are the unchanging, eternal, and immortal. It includes the soul and the intellectual essence of the universe, concepts such as truth, goodness, and beauty. So, from the main the main word that is different from the two is that the physical realm is changeable, while the ideal realm are the unchangeable. So Socrates explains that the essence of the self, the soul, is the immortal entity. The soul strives for wisdom and perfection, and reason is the tool that achieve this exalted state. So Socrates suggests that man must live an examined life and a life of a purpose and value. For him, an unexamined life is not worth of living. So the individual person can have a meaningful and happy life only if he becomes virtuous and knows the value of himself. That can be achieved through incessant soul searching. So he must begin at the source of all knowledge and significance, which is yourself. So the next philosopher is Plato. So he states that the self is an immortal soul. So he introduces the idea of three-part soul self. The reason, the divine essence that enables us to think deeply, make wise choice, and achieve a true understanding of eternal truths. The physical appetite includes our basic biological needs such as hunger, thirst, and sexual desire. So the third is our spirit or passion. This includes basic emotions such as love, anger, ambition, aggressiveness, and empathy. So from the meaning of the three, we can compare them to our mind, our heart, and our body. So the reason we can compare them to our mind, the physical appetite, we can compare them to our body to because our body needs the basic biological needs. And the third, the spirit or passion can be compared to our heart because it includes our emotions. So Plato goes on to elaborate his ideas about the soul. In this theory of forms, he introduces the concept of the two worlds. The first world is the world of forms. These are the non-physical ideas. These are the real and permanent. So, world of sense or reality, temporary and a replica of the ideal world. So, we, the living things, live in the world of sense. So, Plato claims that sensible world is dependent on the ideal world, where the concept of the soul belongs. Since the soul is regarded as something permanent, man should give more importance to it than the physical body which resides in the world of sense. The, la, uh, the last philosopher from the ancient triumvirate is Aristotle. So Aristotle stated that the soul is the essence of the self. So Aristotle holds that the soul is the essence of all living things. That's why he introduces us the three kinds of soul. The first soul is the vegetative soul. It includes the physical body that can grow, so it includes us, our body. The next one is the sentient soul. It includes the sensual desire, feelings, and emotions. So this can be compared to how the human heart work. The last one is the rational soul. So this includes the intellectual that allows man to know and understand things. It is what makes man human. So this can be compared to how our brain or how our mind and how we are uh, superior to all the living things here in the world. That's all for the ancient triumvirate.
This is Saint Augustine. Augustine's contribution to philosophical and theological thought is broad and manifold, from the theory of the knowledge and language to the conception of evil and freedom, from the doctrine creation and time to the analysis of the mind of its acts, from the most difficult questions concerning divine grace and eternity to the reading of human history as the interviewing two mystical cities. Fundamental terms of intellectual language of the West, such as free will, original sin, predestination, and relation bear of indelible imprint Augustine reflection, especially sensitive to influence of Plotinus and Porphyrian. Neoplatonism, the gigantic work of this father of the church, an essential link between antiquity and Middle Ages, has in turn influenced Western Christianity like few others, and through it European culture right up to the modern and contemporary times, although in Augustine's thought one cannot clearly distinguish between philosophy and theology and article only his work and themes that have greater philosophical prominence today are considered. Therefore, purely theological topics such as the doctrine of divine grace are excluded. Only books published or republished after 1970s are cited, with a few rare exceptions. And this is Anthony de Mello. He contributes to the philosophy. During the 70s, Anthony de Mello opened his mind and heart to practice of vipassana meditation and bodies. Spiritually, in his opinion, all religions could offer healing perspective to all human beings. Therefore, he accepted all them, and they all inspire him. He continues to be known for his storytelling, which drew from the various mystical traditions of both East and West, for introducing many people in West and mindfulness-based practices, which he sometimes called awareness prayer.
Greetings everyone, we're Group 1. I'll discuss is all about the self from the perspective from the various philosophers. Talk about the famous modern philosopher René Descartes, the father of modern philosophy. René Descartes is the famous of for having made important connection and and between geometry and algebra. Um, he is known for making an important connection between geometry and algebra, which allowed solving geometrical problems through algebra equation. And let's talk about Descartes' dualism philosophy theories. Descartes has shown in meditation so that he can understand himself purely as a thinking thing. And in meditation 5 he shown that he can understand bodies purely in terms of their special intended characteristic, whatever can be understood clearly and distinctly as a distinct, really is distinct. Therefore, there is a real distinction between mind and the body. And let's proceed to John Locke, the most famous philosophers and political theorists of 17th centuries. He is often regarded as the founder of a school of the thought known as the British empirism, and he made foundational contribution to the modern theories of limited liberal government. Stock in politics, Locke is best known as a proponent of limited government. He uses a theory of natural rights to argue that government have obligation to their citizens have only limited powers over their citizens and can ultimately be overthrown by citizens under citizen circumstances. Let's talk about three natural rights for John Locke: life, liberty, and property. Purpose of government is to protect natural rights. If government does not this, people should overthrow government. And thus, Locke's contribution. Locke shifted the focus of 17th century's philosophy from metaphysics to the more basic problem of the epistemology, or how people are able to acquire knowledge and understanding. Locke rigorously addressed many different aspects of human understanding, and the mind's function is the most speaking innovation. In this regard, it is the rejection of the theory that human beings are born possessing innate knowledge, which philosophers such as Plato, Descartes, and such to prove.
So we're done with David Hume. Now let's talk about Immanuel Kant and his contributions to the philosophy. So who is Immanuel Kant? Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher and one of the central Enlightenment thinkers. Born in Königsberg, Kant's comprehensive and systematic works in epistemology, metaphysics, ethics, and aesthetics have made him one of the most influential figures in modern Western philosophy. So what is Kant's famous work? Kant's most famous work, The Critique of Pure Reason, was published in 1781 and revised in 1787. It is a treatise which seeks to show the impossibility of one sort of metaphysics and to lay the foundations for another. So Immanuel Kant's famous work, The Critique of Pure Reason, aims to reach a decision about the possibility and impossibility of metaphysics. So what is Kant's theory all about? Kant holds that if there is a fundamental law of morality, it is a categorical imperative. Taking the fundamental principle of morality to be a categorical imperative implies that moral reasons override other sorts of reasons. So, in simple terms, Kant's moral philosophy focuses on the fairness and value of the individual.
We are going to talk about this self is the brain according to Paul Churchland. Paul Churchland is a Canadian philosopher known for his studies in neurophilosophy and the philosophy of mind. Philosophy is, among other conceptions, no doubt a human quest for comprehensions, particularly self-comprehensions. Who am I? How should I understand the world and myself? It is in the context that the philosophical importance of Paul Churchland is most evident. For 3 decades and counting, Mr. Churchland has encouraged us to conceive ourselves from the neuro-computational perspective. We are going to talk about dualism. Most Western thinkers have held fast the principle of dualism for most of history. Once it comes to learning of human experience, the concept behind dualism is that the mind and the body are separate. In other words, we do have a single brain and different mind too. In relation to this concept, dualists have traditionally claimed that the consciousness is the center of our knowledge. Paul Churchland, a modern-day philosopher who studies the brain, disagrees with dualism. Churchland sticks to eliminative materialism at the belief that there is nothing but matter. What is eliminative materialism? In eliminative materialism or eliminativism, Churchland asserts that since the mind can be experienced by our senses, then the mind as it really exists. Eliminative materialism argues that the mind's ordinary folk psychology is wrong. It is in the physical brain and not the imaginary mind that gives us our sense of self. Eliminativism is the extreme materialist stance that holds that mind talk has no concrete contacts in the universe and can thus be excluded from our language. By mind talk, they generally mean words like mind, soul, thought. In other words, if the senses cannot be identified in any way, then it's just like a fairy tale. Churchland believes that our folk psychology will be replaced by the theory of the workings of the brain and the central nervous system, which is emerging from neuroscience. We will come to explain and predict what we do better, our behavior, not in terms of belief and desires, but in terms of neuron synapses, ganglia, and neurotransmitters.
Maurice Merleau-Ponty is best known for his contributions to phenomenology, in particular to phenomenological approaches to the body, perceptions, and consciousness in relations to nature. So, this also leads him to contribute in aesthetics, anthropology, and philosophy of nature, philosophy of science, and philosophy of psychology. Through critical engagement in his philosophical and popular writings, he also contributed to social and political philosophy. This is the best contribution of Maurice Merleau-Ponty in the philosophy. The Phenomenological of Perception, completed in 1994 and published the following year. Phenomenology of Perception is the work for which Merleau-Ponty was best known during his lifetime, and that established him as the leading French phenomenologist of his generation. Everyone asks, what is phenomenology? Phenomenology is the study of essence, and according to it, all problems amount to finding definition of essence, the essence of perception, or the essence of consciousness, for example. But phenomenology is also a philosophy which puts essence back into existence and does not expect to arrive at an understanding of mind and the world from any starting point other than that to their facticity. The central theme of Merleau-Ponty, that is full understanding of the natural and social worlds which we inhabit, inevitably leads back to aspects of our experience through which, in some sense, meaning is bestowed upon the object of experience. One of the best quotes of Maurice Merleau-Ponty: "We know not through our intellect, but through our experience." So this means that there is no hard separation between bodily conduct and intelligent conduct. Rather, there is a unity of behavior that expresses the intentionally enhance the meaning of conduct. In habits, the body adapts to the intended meaning, thus giving itself a form of embodied consciousness.
Hello. Today I will represent the postmodernism about David and Foucault Rorty. What does David Hume contribute to the topic? So, one of the most lasting contributions of Hume's discussions of the passion is his argument that human action must be prompted by passion and never can be motivated by reason. And the reason is, he argues he's completely inert when it comes to motivating conduct, and without some emotion we would not engage in any action. So what David Hume known for his philosophy? David Hume is famous for the elegance of his prose, for his radical empiricism, for his skepticism of religion, for his critical account of causation, for his naturalistic theory of mind, for his thesis that reason is the slave of the passions, and for waking Immanuel Kant, for his dogmatic slumber as Kant. And then, what did Hume contribute to philosophy? Beginning with a treatise of human nature, 1739 to 40, Hume strove to create a naturalistic science of man that examined the psychological basis of human nature. Hume argued against the existence of innate ideas, positing that all human knowledge derives solely from experiences. And then, what kind of philosophy is Foucault? Rorty advocated the creation of a culture of global human rights in order to stop violations from happening through a sentimental education. He argued that we should create a sense of empathy or teach empathy to others so as to understand others' is suffering. And then people ask, what does Foucault mean by discourse? Foucault adopted the term discourse to denote a historically contingent social system that produced knowledge and meaning. He notes that discourse is distinctly material in effect, producing what he calls practices that systematically from object which is they speak.